Okay, I'm just going to show you how to program SQL in Access using Visual Basic. This tutorial assumes a basic knowledge of SQL, and it starts with just a basic database with two tables in it. So the first table is the task table. As you can see, it's got three columns. It's got a task code column, a budget duration, and a deadline column. The second table is the time table. This has the date that I commenced working on a task. It has the task code, which should match the task in the task table. That's the key between them both. Then it has a start time, end time, and a duration for each entry. So it's kind of like a time log that links tasks together, just logging how much time is spent on each task. So I can use this along with the other table, link it together to do some sort of analysis. So the goal here is to try and, so what I've just done is Alt F11 to pull up the code editor, insert module, rename the module, and then I'm just going to write sub VBA SQL1 just to start the first line of the subroutine, and then I'm just writing a comment there. The first thing to do is dim DB as a DAO.database. The second thing is to set the DB equal to DB engine 00, which just means set DB equal to this database that we're currently in. And the first task is to sum the total time spent on each activity per week. So what I do is I just type db.execute, open brackets, and in those brackets I need to put my SQL statement. So what I'm going to do is go back to Access, create a new query, look at it in SQL view, and start writing the first query. So I've got a CDate statement that converts a number to a date, and I'm just using a week commencing formula there. So if we look at the table, we'll see that the week commencing formula matches the associated dates with that week. And then the next thing I'm pulling back is just task, and then I'm going to try and sum the duration for each task in each of those weeks. So, this is just SQL, and like I say, this tutorial assumes you've got a basic grip of SQL. So the end goal is to basically get the task that had the highest amount of time spent on it for each week, and then get the budget duration for that task and see what the difference is. So just adding the into x1 bit in the code there, I just make it all in one line of text, copy, and then paste it into my db execute line. So I've just pasted it in there. Now I should be able to click F8 a few times just to step through that code and execute that. If I go back to Access, right click and click F5 to refresh the database, I should see X1 popping up there because that statement I just executed created a new table called X1. Okay, so the next stage is to create the next table. So I'll just close this off. And I'll just write a little comment in my code with the apostrophe starting on the left. So I want to find from the table I've just created the maximum duration for each week. So once again, db execute, and then go back to Access and just start writing my query. So create a new query, look at it in SQL view, and then start typing my SQL and making sure I got the syntax to work. So we select T week, then the max duration is duration 3, into x2, which is the new table we're going to create, from x1, and we need to group by T week. So that's just giving us the maximum duration, sum of durations for each week in the table we just created. Okay, the next step is to get the associated task for that maximum duration that I've just pulled each week. And to do that, we just have to link on the task time between the two tables that we've created already. So once again, db execute, and I'm just going to start writing the syntax instead of jumping into Access this time. And I'll just skip over this next bit. There's just a couple more SQL tasks that I want my code to execute. This one uses a join, as you can see, joining the table that I first created to the last table. And then step 4 there just pulls back the associated budget duration for each task. And then what it also does is just subtracts the total taken from the budget duration. And the last little bit there just uses a drop statement to just drop the tables that I don't need after the code is executed. So I'll just close this and delete X1 so we can just start off from fresh. Like I say, this database just has 2 simple tables in it, so there's nothing else in this database going on. And I'll execute the first line there, go back to my Access page, right click F5, X1 is there, execute the next line. We should now see, well, I've executed X2, so that's there. Now I'm executing the one that does the X3 table, but I've got a little mistake there. It's left join B. It should be left join X1 B. It's just a little alias mistake there. So execute there, go back, and we should see 2 and 3 popping up here when I click F5. There they are. And finally, I should see my analysis table popping up, A1. Then the last step, drop tables X1, 2, and 3. Execute that by clicking F8. And then refresh Access, and they're gone. And that's the end of the subroutine. So just once again, okay, yeah, so this is the final result: week, task, actual duration spent in the task, the total budget duration for the time, and the variance. That just needs to be converted to a number of the variance column there. And then what I do is I'd copy that and stick it in Excel and do stuff with it. So I'll just delete A1 here so we can go back to the start, then click F5 or F8 several times to step through the code, and that's it, the routine's executed. So now I should go back and just see A1 appearing there, which it is. And that's it. For more, analyze6.com.